Hello and welcome to another edition of AttractWell Office Hours. I'm Coach Ashley, joined today by founder of AttractWell, Greg Kilwine. Hey, Greg.
Hey everyone, we're really glad you joined today.
We are so excited to have you here today for the first training I think we've ever done on text marketing in AttractWell. So we're really looking forward to covering this topic here. We're going to go over the different features that are in the AttractWell platform that facilitate text, whether that's simply staying in touch and communicating or text marketing specifically. We'll go over both of those, the features included, how to use them, when to use them, and some best practices here on today's call. We do, of course, as we do every week, we're here every Thursday at 2 p.m. US Eastern Time. We are going to have the first half of this call, first 30 minutes or so, sometimes less, sometimes more, is going to be dedicated to this topic. Second half is dedicated to working with you. If you are here to work together today, if you have signed up for a live review, then of course we welcome you. And if you would like to work together on this call, which actually there is space here for today, feel free to head into the Q&A or the chat and just let us know that you would like to work together. We do offer these calls free of charge to anyone who is looking to grow in their coaching, consulting, content, courses, expert-based business. If you are a knowledge worker, you're selling what you know, it's probably a home for you here. We are $1 to get started with your first month with all the tools that you need to grow your business and keep it running. So without further ado, we're going to get into our content for today. Greg and I are going to hop out of video. I welcome you to hang out in the chat, ask questions. If you're watching this in our Facebook group, hi, we are so thrilled to have you. And I hope that you'll come and join us live on a Zoom session sometime here in the future. So here we go. Yeah, let's get into this content. So today we are talking about getting started with text marketing. So we'll get into those texting features in AttractWell, how to use them, when each is appropriate. So we'll get into some use case examples, and then we'll talk about how to get started and some best practices you're going to want to make sure that you're following as you move forward with using text in AttractWell. And then, of course, as always, we get into our live help and Q&A in the second half of the call. Now, if you are watching this from our Facebook group, if you're seeing this as a replay in the future on our YouTube channel, I invite you to go to attractwell.com/office hours so that you will be on the list. You will be able to join us live every Thursday, and of course, have that opportunity to work one-on-one should you choose. And if you do choose that, you can go to attractwell.com/work review to reserve a set of time in the future on a call like this one. We do dedicate the second half of our calls to opportunities to work one-on-one. And then finally, if you would like to work one-on-one with a dedicated person who can help you to create the website or the systems that you have in mind for your business, you can go to attractwell.com/concierge to learn about our team, set up a call, and get a quote. All right. Now, if you're here today, let us know, are you using text messaging to stay connected? Maybe with your existing clients, you are texting back and forth with them, staying in communication that way. Or perhaps you are maybe looking at getting started with using marketing features specifically. Let us know what that looks like for you. So with AttractWell, you can broadcast, right? So you can send a single message, broadcast it out to one person, broadcast it out to many people. You can also drip sequences, like in a campaign over a period of time, and you can chat back and forth, similar to how you might use Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or something similar. And you can do that all in AttractWell, all inside your AttractWell system, all connected to your contacts and your records for your contacts in your contact manager. And this creates a really clean setup both for your marketing and for fulfillment and how you serve and communicate with your people. If you are looking for a more effective way to reach them right away, get in their pocket and be in contact back and forth in a more expedient way than sometimes email can offer you. And the cool thing about this with texting is that we are not just limited to the US and Canada. There are several platforms out there. I think very popular ones tend to be limited, but if you are just about anywhere in the world, there is a solid chance that you can use us for your text marketing. So let's talk about what this looks like. Your text marketing with AttractWell is something that is an included feature in your system. But two-way texting is something that you have to specifically set up if you want people to be able to respond to you directly, and you want to be able to carry on those conversations moving forward. So two-way texting is where you actually get your own business phone number connected to your AttractWell system, and it allows you to send texts out to your contacts from your AttractWell system directly. And it also allows you to respond. If they respond to you, there is a thread. Again, I relate this maybe to like a Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or something similar, where you are actually typing in this case, from your AttractWell system, whether that be in your app or on a desktop. And of course, what they're seeing is a text on their phone, right? So when they're communicating with you, they're in their phone, and you could be just typing away at your computer, for instance. You can also send broadcast messages out to one contact or to many. This would, be something that you might do if you have an announcement to make. Maybe you have a reminder that you want to go out. And then, of course, drip messages can also be sent out using a campaign that goes out automatically over a set period of time. Sent out at specific intervals, right? So this is going to be something that you'll use maybe to educate or to onboard. And this is something that folks can receive when they maybe text in. So if you give them a text in code, so text in the word blank to your AttractWell phone number, and then they'll be able to automatically start receiving those messages. And of course, they can opt in other ways as well to those campaigns. Let's get a little deeper into use cases for these three primary ways that we deal with text in AttractWell. So the first and the simplest is the chat button. This is the two-way texting feature in AttractWell. Here you can initiate or respond to a conversation initiated by a contact. And again, this is where you're typing in and they can reply back to you via text. This is a really great way to communicate. This is not really so much a marketing feature as it is a conversation feature. So again, this particular feature uses this one-on-one back and forth sort of chatting. You've got that record there. You can see what was shared, right? Broadcasts are going to work very similarly to how you might send out a single email, except in this case, you're sending out a single text, right? So you would send it now, or you would schedule it into the future. It could be for one other person, or it could be to 1,000 people or more. The use cases for broadcasts are going to be things that are a bit more time sensitive, things like announcements, reminders, right? And also where you might just be sharing a single piece of information. So let's just say, for instance, there's something in your business, a piece of information in your business that you share often. Maybe you want to put that into a saved reply so that you can easily shoot that information off to someone who asks for it. Maybe they're a client, maybe they're a lead, whatever that might be. You can send that via text. And of course, where saved replies are concerned, you can also send those via email if it is more fitting. Campaigns, finally, when you might use text campaigns, there are a multitude of ways that you could go about using these, but let's just go into a couple. If you have an onboarding campaign, for instance, for a new customer or client, something that maybe educates them, this is something that you would use for anyone. This would be an evergreen thing, so you create it once and you use it every time you need it. Right? This is also a great lead nurture opportunity. So campaigns allow you to drip out messages in a sequence over a period of time. Text campaigns can be used for that purpose. Another way that you would be able to use text campaigns would be for more time sensitive things like events. So one example might be that you maybe have an in-person event coming up. You plan to call everyone who RSVPs or attends this event directly. So you require a phone number, and then you send out your reminders the day before, maybe the day of, the day after, and so on via text. This is also a really great tool. I think my favorite way to use text in AttractWell is to use campaigns for things like challenges, where maybe there is a live component where you want people to be reminded an hour before your live call. That's a great time to send a text, because that's going to cut straight through any of the noise. You don't have to worry about being the top of the pile in the email inbox. This is a reminder that's time sensitive that they need right now. Another way that I particularly love using text for challenges is for check-ins, right? So this is for accountability. Maybe you are sending a text out using a campaign every week or every day or 2 days or however you would like to set it up, where you're asking them about an action that they need to have taken, that they're accountable to, and then they can, of course, respond to that message that goes out via a campaign, and you can carry on that conversation in the two-way texting chat. So if you would like to get started with texting in AttractWell, you want to click the chat button that you'll find in the upper right corner of your screen from your dashboard so that you can select your phone number. Now, if you already have a phone number, maybe a VoIP number, or you've been using text marketing via another service, you do have the ability to port your existing phone number over that you would use for this purpose. All you have to do is reach out to our team, support@attractwell.com, and they can help you get started. And once you have that business phone number updated so that you can engage in two-way texting using your AttractWell system, don't forget to go in and update your contact information with that new number, right? You want people to be able to call or text that number to reach you without it necessarily being your personal private cell phone, for instance, right? So make sure you go in to update your contact information in AttractWell so that this shows up in all of the various places that your contact information would show up in your system. Now, once you've got that set up, you can begin chatting with your contacts using that two-way texting feature, or getting into broadcasting or applying campaigns to contacts. Now, before you do either of those last two things, right? So you can absolutely set this up and shoot a message off to someone you know and communicate with them one-on-one. But before you engage in any kind of mass communication or marketing efforts with text, let's talk about a couple of really important things. First, please make sure that you have got permission, express permission, to send promotional text messages to the contacts that you'll be sending these messages to. All right? You gotta have permission. Now, I think that most of us understand that this is a given, but it really is important that you keep this sacred. And there's a couple of reasons why. The most important one is that there is a reputation that you are looking to build when you're sending. This is very similar to the reputation that you are looking to maintain, establish and maintain when you're sending email. I don't believe that there's any place you can go to see what your score is or what your reputation ranks as, but it exists and it matters because this is going to impact the deliverability of your future messages that are sent. So a good rule of thumb is to only ever send marketing messages to people who ask for those specific type of marketing messages, and then make sure that you are communicating with people that you know first, right? Now, of course, if you are already engaging in text marketing using another platform, you can absolutely import that list over here, port your phone number, and continue on with business as usual. Just make sure that you've got the people who've given you permission tagged accordingly, so that you can make sure that you're only sending promotional texts or bulk communications to people who said yes to it. And if you're just getting started and you want to make sure that you are creating and maintaining a sterling reputation with how you send text, start small, right? So start with the clients that you have that you know are going to respond to you, right? That's a great place to start. Or start with friends and family, just whoever it is that you know. You can maybe ask a favor and say, hey, look, I'm about to start engaging in marketing in this way. And you could do this for email also, just so you know. I'm about to begin marketing. In this case, I'll be using text, and I'd like to kind of warm up my reputation here with how I'm sending. Can I send you some stuff, right? And so in that case, what you're asking them to do is just to make sure when you get something from this number that you open the message, that you maybe reply to the message, like starting a conversation, or you click the link in the message if there is a link provided. You really want to make sure that that these providers for text recognize that you as a sender are creating something and sending something of value to the people who are your recipients. And how they measure that is whether or not the stuff that you send gets opened, gets responded to, engaged with via actually like texting back, and of course, whether or not your links are clicked if links are sent. So you want to build quality over quantity, a high level of engagement, even if it's with a small group to start, because that is going to secure your reputation moving forward. The last thing that you want to do is blast out to way too many people a bunch of texts that they didn't ask for and have people leaving you unread, marking you as spam, or of course, deleting and or maybe not engaging with the messages at all. That will not bode well for deliverability in the future. All right. Now let's talk about marketing credits. This is an internal currency in your AttractWell system that you are using, and you may not know yet. If you are using email marketing, then you may not even really be aware of this because you can send so many emails compared to the number of texts you can send with same number of marketing credits. But this is an important thing to know about if you're going to be engaging in text marketing, because it does tend to add up depending on the volume. So your plan, depending on what plan you have in AttractWell, comes with monthly credits that you can use to send email and text messages to your contacts. Now, depending on when you signed up, maybe you have more, but you will be able to know by looking in your account settings. And of course, we do have a help article that goes into all of this in detail. By the way, all you have to do is click the nice little question mark in the top right corner of your AttractWell system and type in marketing credits, and you can see all of this spelled out, including everything I'm about to say here. All right, so if you find that you are running out of credits, if you need more credits, they do roll over if you don't use them, and you can add as many as you need and more. Now, how they work, the math of this is if you're going to email, you've got one email to one person equals one credit. You send an email to a list of 500 people, you have used 500 credits, right? Now for text, if you're sending an SMS, now that is strictly text message, so just text, no images, nothing like that. If you send a straight up text message under 160 characters to one person, that's going to be 15 credits. Now, obviously, if you're going over 160 characters, then this is going to run you more than 15 credits per person. Okay. MMS, which are text messages that include things like images, that's going to run you 40 credits per one message to one person, right? So we're doing the math here. It's going to be how many people am I sending it to times 15 credits for just text, 40 credits if the text includes image. Your text messages can include up to 10 images, and that does not impact the number of credits used. And there is not a length restriction in terms of this 40 credits for an MMS message. Okay. And then the two-way texting that we've talked about before, where you just kind of chat back and forth, that actually doesn't use marketing credits at all. So if you're wanting to maybe communicate and stay in touch with a client and you are chatting, in this case, texting back and forth using the chat feature, that does not run up your marketing credits. It's just when you go in to send a broadcast, right? That could be to one, to many, or to apply a campaign. And so, of course, for every message in the campaign, depending on what it contains, that's going to use a certain number of credits. All right, let's look at some best practices. Whether you are just getting started or you've been texting, these are things that you absolutely want to make sure that you are taking into account so that you get the most out of your efforts. First and foremost, and this is critical, please make sure that you are familiar with local laws and regulations around marketing communications. This can get strict. It can get weird. Even the laws here in the US around this are I think kind of weird by some measures. And of course, sometimes these fines can be pretty steep. Great example, the phrase CBD can earn you, if you text someone who has a T-Mobile phone and you send a message talking about CBD, you can be fined as much as $1,000 for that single message. No joke. There are prohibited businesses. Obviously, you want to check and make sure that yours is not one of them. I think that it's not just about the the nature of what you're sending in the text itself. I think it's also quite important that whatever it is that you say that you are on your website, if your website is linked to this, then of course, you just want to take those things into account so that you are covered. All right. And just really, please just don't try to text the word CBD. You might lose a bunch of money. All right. So now, unless someone signed up for a series that sells something via text, make sure that you're writing your messages like you would write them to a friend or colleague, right? So if you're writing a text message, we are talking with and attempting to engage a conversation as opposed to talking at and promoting or pushing something. There's a couple of reasons that you want to make sure that you're doing this way. And the first of which is the whole point of text messaging is engagement. And unless something feels like it is for them, why would somebody engage with something? If you sent me something that is just blatantly promotional, no context, just here's a thing and I'm just promoting this thing, I'm not going to respond positively to it, and I might not respond at all. But if you sent me a question, right? If you asked something of me, then I would respond, right? And we want not just for the sending authorities, if you will, right? So that the services that actually send these text messages out, we not only want them to look upon us favorably, we of course want the people who we're sending stuff to respond positively. So write like you'd write to a friend or colleague if you want them to respond, which you do, and then write with the expectation of a response, right? Ask a question. Now, if you have something that you are sending them more information for, so let's just say, for instance, you are on Insta and you're, maybe talking about something related to a thing that you sell, and people maybe want to get some extra information. And of course, this is only going to apply to you if you are someone who maybe does discovery calls, right? You chat with somebody and figure out if they're a fit before you sell them. Then you may say, DM me your number and I'll send you my information, right? And then you could maybe grab a saved reply that's got some images, some text, a link, etc. And then you can send them information that they've asked for. Otherwise, with text, you really want to stick to things that are pertinent to, something that is timely and time sensitive. And then finally, if you are going to be using a campaign, especially if it's a text in campaign, right? So text this to my number and you'll get this, right? In the first email, so that day 0 email, immediately after they've opted in, make sure that you're including verbiage that shares that they can text the word stop or maybe an alternate word to end or adjust the campaign that's just been applied to them, right? This shows them that they can opt out. This is something that is good functionally, right? To be able to allow them to modify and to stop receiving messages from you should they choose to. And again, this is also something that the texting providers, right? And the, the cell service companies, they look favorably on this as well. All right, so let's go take a look at some of these features in AttractWell, and then of course we will get into any questions that you guys may have. So first things first, with getting started, you will go up here and click chat, which is this right up here in the top corner. And if you don't have your two-way texting set up yet, it is going to prompt you to go ahead and select a number. Once you have that number, you'll be able to come over here to your contact information and put that new number right in here as the phone number that you include for your website so people can email and text you directly. Now, once you have this set up, you have several options as to how you communicate. First, you can chat with two-way texting. So we hit our chat, which I have right here. And of course, you can text people directly from here. Right? So I can send something, right? And then this person can reply. And this, again, did not cost me any marketing credits because this is two-way texting chat. Okay. And when Jane receives this on her phone, she is going to see this just as a text message coming from this phone number, from this AttractWell phone number right up here. All right, so that's our two-way texting. The other thing that you can do is send out a broadcast. And so here we can just do this right here from our dashboard. I'm going to send just one message. So this will be a broadcast. And I'm going to choose who this is for. So I'm going to send to one person. And here is Jane. I'm going to write a text to her. And maybe I have a saved reply that has information, or I could just, send a link, whatever that is, right? You can text directly to one person this way. If you are wanting, again, to have a conversation with one person, I would encourage you to maybe use the chat feature. Sending this way is going to be more effective if you want to utilize, say, like a saved reply, formatting, etc., or if you want to include or attach images. Okay, so that's how we would do that. We would schedule it for later or send it right away. And if we wanted to send out a broadcast to many, we would do the same thing, send email, text, or app notification, one message, and we will filter by tag in this case for our, maybe just our clients. And then maybe I would filter for mobile as well. If those people gave permission, maybe you have a mobile tag if you want. And here I'll write a text. And again, same thing, I can write, I can, when I write, you can actually see the character count, and it will give you a quote of how many credits will be used in total for the number of contacts that you are sending something out to. Of course, this does change a bit when you're adding images. And you'll see here, I'll go ahead and just add an image here. And you can see that this is updated accordingly. And you can add up to 10 pictures to send, and it will still remain the same number of credits. Now let's talk about creating and sending text campaigns. You can, again, just really simply go and grab your campaign and send it out to the people that you want to send it to if it's created already. But let's go ahead and talk real quickly about creating campaigns that you'll be using for text purposes. My recommendation the majority of the time is to be really intentional about what you are creating and for its purpose. So I really like to, for that reason, create campaigns that are, in this case, text only or email only, because I'm using them for those purposes. I did do a deep dive on campaigns, and I talked about different use cases for things, say, like email preferred or email and or text. There are different and good reasons to use these different functions, but generally speaking, if you know that you want to be engaging in text marketing, and the reason why you're creating this sequence is so that you can engage via text, I would really keep it to just text and just make sure that the person is providing their phone number. So maybe this is our new client engagement. And maybe this is different from our onboarding campaign, right? Maybe it's one of our onboarding campaigns. Maybe we have one that goes out twice a week that comes out via email, but our engagement one is going to maybe ask questions so that they can respond to us, right? Because we want to have a different sort of experience via text than we would via email. So here, if we wanted this to be a text in keyword, if we wanted them to be able to opt themselves into it for a new client engagement series, I wouldn't do that. I would apply this to them manually or at the point of sale using an automation or just attaching the campaign there. But maybe this is something that is related to something more promotional. In that case, you can use the keyword. I can maybe type in the word new. Sequential texting keywords are going to allow them to automatically get all of the messages more quickly. So this would be something I would use for educational purposes. So maybe you have a text series that teaches on a concept that you break down into multiple texts, and you would send them out once per day for a week. If you wanted to provide the option for someone to get those messages instead of once a day per week, once a minute for 7 minutes, then you could provide a keyword here that they could text back, and then it would change the sending speed. Now, I mentioned previously using the word stop for people to opt out of a campaign that they are in. We don't necessarily want that to be the goal here. What we want is, obviously, if they want to stop getting texts from you, period, they can send stop. right? And they will just have to opt themselves back in via some other means to receive other campaigns that you're offering. If you are using text for multiple purposes and you want to allow people the ability to maybe not get this specific campaign anymore, you can provide a different opt-out keyword, right? So maybe I'm going to have them type in no new or respond with no new because our text in is new, or new stop, or something like that. You just come up with whatever that word is. And in this case, it needs to be all one word. There we go. Then they would just stop receiving this specific campaign. Okay, so this is an important thing to consider. Again, if you have maybe a challenge that you're running, maybe you put challenge stop here and you let them know in the message, if you would like to stop receiving messages in this series, text back with this word. That way, again, you are preserving their opt-in for other purposes, and you're allowing them to opt themselves just out of this campaign. All right, let's go quickly look at what it would look like to create a text campaign. We're going to add a message. As always, we have a day 0 message. That's the immediate message. And I'm going to just put day 0 up here in the subject line. And I'm going to write my messages down here where it says send message if by text. So here I will say hi. I will personalize this. Oops, I got dropped in the wrong place. Here we go. So I will say hi. I'm excited to work with you. Since this is our new client, tell them what to expect here, right? I'm going to be checking in with you every couple of days. If you'd like to stop receiving this series, reply with new stop, or whichever the word is that you picked on the previous page, right? And then of course, again, you can use those best practices, asking them to hit, to respond and say something to you, etc. Just make sure that in the first message that you're sending, you're giving them an option to opt out, and bonus points for the sending authorities. If you'd like to opt out of all text communication from me, reply stop at any time, right? That will look really good for your send score, especially again in the beginning. And this is the very first message of this campaign. So we're giving them an option. If you want to just stop receiving this campaign, use this word. If you'd like to opt out of all from me, use this word. All right. So we'll save that one. And then we can continue and add additional messages here. Again, you can add images if you like, and so on. Now, how do people receive this campaign? It's your choice. It depends on the function of the campaign. If it is something that is maybe intended to be marketing specific, you might use a text in code where they have to text in a particular word, and then they start to receive these messages. If you are using this, as I mentioned in the settings here, is this maybe being a new client engagement campaign, this is likely something that you will be applying at the point of sale. So in that case, you might be adding this campaign to an automation. So this goes out to that contact right after they have purchased, right? And remember, in campaigns, and again, we do have more in-depth training on campaigns, you do have the ability to adjust how soon they receive this message. And then of course, if you have subsequent messages sent on day 0 and beyond, you can actually pick a specific time of date or even a day, specific calendar date for messages to send. All right, so let's go, before we get too far into the weeds here, I want to get into weeds with you guys. Let's see what kind of questions you have. We can go and take a look at whatever you'd like. Lee, this is a really good question. Greg knows the answer to this better than I do. So if you are going to use emojis, how does that impact the SMS to MMS send?
Sure. So for the MMS, when you've got a picture in there, the emojis just count as one character. You can have up to, what is it, 1600 or however many characters that is in the message, and that includes emojis. when you go to SMS and you're looking to conserve credits, if you include even one emoji in there, it like cuts the number of characters in your text by half in terms of what it charges for credits. So it goes from, I forget, was it like 160 or something,
Mhm.
down to about half of that that you can put in there, because like an emoji, I guess, apparently switches something. Anyway, it's some technical thing, but it does use more credits generally with fewer characters, or I should say, it uses this, yeah. Anyway, cuts the text size in half before it kicks over to, a second segment or whatever, a second text. So
Got you. And if you're going to
the
include a
emojis, they're
link,
great. Include a picture.
there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So include a picture if you're going to use emojis. And if you're sending a link, I think it's important for you to know as well that the entire length of the URL isn't necessarily going to work against you in terms of the character count, right? Because we do have like an automatic shortener. Can you speak to that, Greg?
Yeah, basically any text that is sent out that has a link in it, it'll detect the link and replace it with a shortened version of it. So, and it's on your domain name too. So unlike, there's one other thing is like if you use it, don't ever use it like a URL shortener, like a bit.ly or tiny URL or one of those popular ones, because most carriers will block those as spam. So then they won't even get delivered. They were just, you'll waste credits essentially trying to send it out and they won't get received. But because it's a link on your website, it won't flag those because it doesn't think your website or your domain name is a link shortener. So it will, if you get a super long URL, it will shrink it down. You can try that, text to yourself and see what happens, or text to a friend or something like that. But it's kind of a nice little built-in feature.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Colette asks, should we have stop to opt out phrase in every text we send out? I send out weekly tips to members who have opted into that. So it is definitely helpful for your send score, I think generally. And like I think that they always look favorably upon including that verbiage. I don't think if somebody is opted in that you should necessarily have to tell them how to opt out every single time you send a message. If you are sending on a really consistent basis, it's good to sporadically like have that in there. As a rule of thumb, you can, and it certainly doesn't hurt, but I don't believe that you have to every single time, right? Especially if they are hearing from you on a regular basis. Again, if it is a new texting contact, a new texting lead, right? So at the beginning of a campaign, it's going to be most important to include that. If you haven't sent something to that contact in a while, then it would be a great idea to include that, right? But I don't think that it's absolutely necessary to include in every single one. The short link. Yeah, so essentially what that's going to look like is, I mean, Greg, could you provide an example? Like, I mean, it would just be, so ColettePolonone.com / like, how would that show up via
Gosh, I don't remember
text?
what the link is, but it's something like /m, or it's a very short, like a single letter or something like that, and then some number.
Yeah,
So it's pretty short. It's basically like some incremental counter. It looks a lot like the URL you might get from tinyURL or whatever, but it's to
yeah.
your domain name and isn't getting flagged by carriers.
Got you. Yeah, so it's just like if you went to like a bit.ly and generated a short link, except uh it's your website short link. And you don't actually have to make the short link. Paste the whole crazy long URL that you have for your super duper long blog post title blog post and it will shorten it for you and you don't have to worry about that. And it's not going to be a link shortener that you're going to use in perpetuity or anything. It's just being created for the purpose of sending that text. It's just going to shorten it so that it looks a little better on email. So yeah, you would paste that in the message that you're composing, right? So if it's in a campaign, you would say, blah, 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 so-and-so, click here, paste the really long link, and it will shorten it for you when it's sent, right? You don't see it unless you're a recipient, like what that short URL is, but it'll do that for you when you send it. And yes, yes way, it does do that for you. All right, let me see. It is awesome, and it saves you a lot in the way of of the length of your text message. All right. Any other questions, you guys? And we aren't limited to just questions about texting. If you have other questions, we could certainly get into those here today. You're more than welcome to ask those. You can pop them into the Q&A. If you're looking for other ways to maybe integrate the use of text, if you've got a use case that you're curious about, what would be maybe the best way to go about creating and using text for this purpose, we could certainly play around with some ideas and chat about that here today as well. Hi, Ricky. You say I very seldom receive text messages from UK organizations, but I often get them from US organizations. Is texting more popular in the US? It's a really good question, and I think it probably is. I think it probably is maybe a bit more popular in the US, maybe in Canada as well. I know that once you start getting outside of the States, WhatsApp is exceptionally more popular than texting. And then, depending on where your friends live and where their friends live, WhatsApp is wildly popular here as well. But the tricky thing is you can't like as a business take advantage of that. So this would really just be a matter of kind of recognizing like what its real functional use case would be for you. If you would, for instance, have a reason to be in contact via text with your clients, perhaps. I find that often, like for coaches, consultants, and so on, if you have programs, especially if you work one-on-one with people, this is going to be particularly valuable for health coaches and people who might work, on a more daily basis with accountability with clients. Having that ability to shoot a message off to someone that they can respond to you with, that's maybe not quite as I don't want to call email clunky, because email is not really exactly clunky. It's just sort of like email is a very different activity. When you get a ping from a text message, you tend to pick up your phone and look and see who it is and do something with it more quickly than you respond to email. So in that way, comparatively, this is a bit leaner of a prospect, right? So if you, excuse me, if you have a utility in your business to be able to reach someone in that way, and for them to be able to respond to you in that way, then you might consider adopting this regardless of where you are. But where, sending out messages for the purposes of marketing and promoting something, where that's concerned, that's not going to be quite as relevant for a lot of use cases in this space. But we do have a lot of really interesting businesses that work with us that aren't just providing that type of information. So this would be a great adjunct to maybe letting folks know that your latest podcast dropped, right? Similar to how you would use email, you could certainly do that as well. This would also be, if you wanted to, again, it's useful to you to have phone numbers. Maybe you pick up the phone and call people in your locale. You can use text for those purposes as well. I don't think that for the majority of us that we would ever use text marketing as a replacement for email marketing. I really don't believe that they serve the same function and purpose for most businesses. If you are the type of businesses that offer sales and you have like e-commerce as a function of what you do, that's great. But if you don't, text just doesn't really do what email does. But it does do some powerful things that email doesn't. And that is going to really line up for you where it comes to grabbing engagement quickly, where you are actually able to solicit interaction, direct interaction from the people that you're texting with. Okay, Colette, I'm afraid to send text messages when my people are not expecting them because of the carrier filtering. What is a good purpose to send a text campaign that is helpful to my customers and will get through the filter? Okay. Broadcasts are what you want to send. And text campaigns generally are what you want to allow people to opt themselves into. Because text campaigns, and I know because you have a direct sales business where you talk about products to people who are customers. We want them to buy more of the products that you have, right? So what we don't want to do is use the phone like an e-commerce business. And this is my hot take. Not everybody does it this way. There are people who absolutely blast promotions using text. Some people find it effective. I find that it has too short of a shelf life because people get tired of getting promotions from the same company, even if they love the company. Like that's just how it is. And you are in a relationship business, regardless of the fact that you do promote product. So generally speaking, what I would do is have those campaigns. And I know you have access to them because we have content providers on that platform that have campaigns that drip educational texts out with images and all kinds of stuff about maybe particular products or product lines. Have those available, but think of those as a buffet that people can go and choose to take from when they want to, right? Have those available. So broadcast maybe a link to a place where they can click and opt themselves in to get access to any of those educational campaigns. You could do that in your member area, for instance, right? Or you could use a text and code, right? You can maybe send a broadcast and say, you know, hey, just a reminder, I'm going to have a live call this week. I'd love for you to join me. You can get information here. If you'd like to get this week's education, I'm talking about X product, text the word blank if you'd like to get access to it, and then they get the campaign, right? So that's another thing that you could do is you could just send out a broadcast. And this broadcast, again, is really designed to just be sort of like a, hey, there's a thing over here that you might like to have. Hope you're well. How are you? Right? And then include that, you know, respond with, you know, reply with this, and that's your text in keyword for a campaign. And then they can get access to that campaign that is more promotional. And it's okay because they asked for it, right? And then, of course, you do still have the opportunity because you're sending that broadcast out to solicit engagement, right? To get them to actually respond to you, you know, ask them how they use that product or what have you, right? Let them know that they can respond. So if you're concerned about, I mean, carrier filtering is something to be concerned about if, you know, people are opting out a lot when you send something, or they're not opening things. Like it really is based on like whether or not you land in like the inbox and not in spam has a lot to do with whether or not people open, respond to, or click, engage with the content that you send. So make more of what you're sending via text engageable stuff, right? So I'm not talking at you, I'm soliciting interaction, and really kind of focus on allowing people to say yes to the promotional stuff as opposed to just putting the promotional stuff in front of them. Give them the words that they can text in, and if they want to, they will. If they won't, that's okay. I hope that helps. And happy to, like, if you have like more questions along those lines, feel free to let me know. And we could certainly chat about that. And you all are welcome as well if you want to pop your hand up and ask a question. We've got about 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Happy to chat with you guys here about your texting strategy as well. Hey, how are you?
Hi, Ashley, can you hear me? So the broadcast would be like I get my new customers for April, say, and so I text all the new customers, hey, I have this thing, you know, the weekly texting tips. Say, you know, yes to tips. That's an opt-in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have well, yeah, so what I would do is I would have a campaign, right? And that's just going to be the text to tips confirmation, right? It's going to have a day zero message. It's going to say you are subscribed to weekly tips. Reply blank to opt out if you don't want to receive these anymore. Look forward to receiving these on these days and times of the week, right? And so the cool thing is that when someone texts in a short code, that now becomes a tag on your contacts. Because when you're sending out weekly tips, it's best to send those out as broadcasts, right? Because you're going to be doing that in perpetuity, week over week over week over week, right? So you want to send them, like, use a campaign so that, whether they opt in at 4 o'clock today or 3 a.m., they'll immediately, right after they said, I want text to tips or yes to tips or whatever, immediately they get a message back that says you're subscribed. Here's how you opt out. If you want to opt out, here's when you'll receive these messages. Reply anytime if there's something you want to learn about. And then you broadcast, to those to that tag, right? The people who texted in yes to tips, you filter for them, and that's who you broadcast to. Does that make sense?
So when I like that, where you like say I have 10 new members, send it to 10 new members. You are opted in to let them know. That way you're not having to wait for 10 people to opt in. They are opted in. You're giving them the chance to opt out. Is that what you're saying?
No. So when you're signing someone up, okay, hold on. You're talking about, and just for everyone's benefit here of understanding what we're talking about, because Colette, we work together, and I know your business very well. So what you're referring to is in your entire organization, not just your personal new customers, right?
Correct.
Okay. So Colette is in direct sales, and we're referring to her basically pulling a report from her company that she works with and gathering basically the contact information of all new customers in her organization on a given week. Now, as a practice, I would not recommend automatically opting anybody in who's not your personally enrolled. And you want to make sure that you're just, whether verbally or whatever, getting permission from that personally enrolled when they're in the enrollment process. But for the people who have not opted in, they don't know you from Adam, and they may already be getting texts from 7 other people in your organization, above you, below you, wherever. You want to make sure that you're not opting them into anything automatically. So if they're new and they are not opted into yes to tips, then you want to send a broadcast out to them. So just use a saved reply for this. Find those new people, send a broadcast out and say, hi, I'm Colette. I'm here to help. Yada, yada. If you'd like my tips, reply yes to tips. Let them opt in. Because if you just start sending them something on a weekly basis that they didn't ask for, then that's going to negatively impact your send score. Because again, and this is the unfortunate thing, like there could be, again, like 30 other people who are wanting to do the same thing. And we don't want that person's new experience to be like a bombardment. We want it to begin with permission. Would you like to get this from me? If they don't, you don't. But if they do, they'll be on that yes to tips list. It's better for you to have a small list of people that you're sending that to, who are opening, who are looking for it, who said yes explicitly, than to send because you have a lot of people that you could send to. Because, the latter is going to potentially, have you filtered out where folks don't get what you're sending.
Yeah, that's very helpful, because I've been doing that. No, you told me not to, but I have been.
Okay, well, we can
you
stop that now.
So you send a broadcast at, giving them the option to opt into, for me, I'm talking about the weekly texting tips. But if
Right.
there's else I think they might want, I can offer them a different campaign, set that up. And as long as they opt in, that's okay with the carrier filtering.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All you need to do is, if they're new, you could have a long message that's like, hey, this is who I am. Here's where you can find me. By the way, you could always, say stop if you don't want anything else from me ever again, and I won't be upset. But if you'd like more, if you want weekly tips, text yes to tips. If you want blah, 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 text this, right? You can actually give them a little bit of a menu, because it's just like, it's an initial message and they can choose or not, right? Give them nothing, or, give them a list, right? It's totally up to you.
I love that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So that way they can, if they want to go back, and, maybe a week later, they like the tips and they're like, you know what, I kind of want to know about that one thing that she said. And then they can just go ahead and initiate that whenever they want it.
Do you have any other trainings with examples of like kind of fun, interesting menu type options to put out there? I know I'm not on Get Over the Hill.
Generally, no, because it's actually ill-advised. Like to give people lots of options is really not a good idea in the world of marketing. But I know in your unique case here,
Okay.
because you've just signed somebody up with
Mhm.
with a membership to a company that has a mind-boggling amount of information and products.
Mhm.
And you know, they are not going to want to consume everything all at once.
Mhm.
And you aren't, unless they're your personal customer, you know, they aren't necessarily going to be, you know, baby walked, handheld by you the whole time.
Mhm.
So providing them this, again, someone who's already said yes, to a way to come back and sort of buffet their way,
Mhm.
that is fine.
Okay.
If in basically every other case I can imagine, I would actually never recommend somebody do what I just told you to do.
Oh, okay.
So I don't typically train on it. But
Okay.
you know,
Awesome.
one place that you could keep this as well is, think about keeping this in multiple places. Put a list of this stuff in your member area. Have a saved reply that has all of it, and you can pop it into your emails that say text these things to this number if you want this thing. And that can just be a thing that you can use and maybe send out periodically, you know, so that everybody knows that they can, but
Mm.
just allow the ones who say yes to actually, you know, do something with it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
Yeah, sure thing. All right, Yulia. Hi, long time no see. How can we help?
Yes, hi. Good to see you guys. Miss you so much.
Yeah.
To be honest, I wasn't doing a lot with AttractWell, except using it for lessons, my piano lessons.
Mhm.
And um, the reason is because I work with a company, so there is like little conflict of interest.
Mm.
So, but I'm working around it to see how I can continue with my online piano school. And this text messaging that you spoke about today, uh, I wanted to ask, like, let's say if I'm doing live lessons on Instagram or on YouTube, and I would like to build a list or maybe share some information like lead capture. Like, let's say who wants to receive daily piano motivations? How would I approach it from my dashboard? Like, how would I set up?
Yeah. So you would create a campaign. First thing you would do is create a campaign. And this
Mhm.
is where you would maybe say, in your in the description below your YouTube video or wherever you're putting it, if you're saying, if you want daily piano motivation, text motivation to whatever your AttractWell phone number is, right? If that's how you want to do it, then you'll set up a campaign, and this will be a text only campaign.
Mhm.
And this, we'll call this piano motivation. And we will send that by text only. The text in keyword will be motivation. And maybe we'll give a special opt-out that you can share. Again, maybe they want to receive other things from you. You could maybe give, you know, stop motivation or something like that. You know, you can put that in there. All right. So you create your campaign. And then your day zero message, the very first one, is just going to be a welcome. And I'm going to call it day zero. And then go down here to the text field and say, welcome. If it was a text-in campaign, then it's not going to give you their name, right? So you don't necessarily want to put this here. Another option that you could use if you didn't want to use a text in is to maybe use a landing page and just require text, require their phone number. So we can say welcome and then provide any other information, including reply stop to opt out or your alternate opt out word. And then you would begin, you know, the daily motivation. So day one, and then, you know, you put your motivation in here, day two, and so on. And so what you would do again is you have the ability to have, if you come down here and we look at our text and keyword, all you have to do is use this keyword and your AttractWell phone number that you've set up, and you can have that call to action wherever you'd like. So put that, you know, in emails, put it anywhere and say text motivation to this phone number, and I'll send you daily piano motivation for a week, right? Or for however long you want that to run. And that's
Okay,
essentially
that's
how you would
great.
do it. Yeah, the other option
Great.
again would be to set up a landing page. That way you would actually collect their name, but then just require that they put their phone number in, and then you can even personalize the text messages moving forward from there.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. You always make it so easier.
Well, thank you. And
Good to see you guys. Thank
yeah,
you.
good to see you too. Glad to have you back.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Thank you guys for sticking around, asking great questions today. If there's something you would like to learn how to do in your AttractWell system, let us know. We have a Facebook community that you can join. Of course, we're live here every Thursday, and you can always reach our team support at attractwell.com if you need more help. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.